We automatically went Switchboard was lit up by Madison.
My dad. I think so too. I don't think I remember the thing that came and.
Look how we got married.
I graduated in May of 1942 on a Friday night. The following Monday was when I started working for the telephone company. I think I made $15 a week salary when I first started.
Well, I graduated from the 11th grade. That was before they had put the 12th grade. And I was only 16, and I was awfully young and still, of course, lived at home. And my older sister was working for the telephone company, and so I put in my application.
I went to work as an operator. I would say about 1950 or 51. I was 20. They were hiring just women and younger people, you know, at the time. And I put my application in while I was working at the Thurman Manufacturing Company.
When I started to work at the telephone company, my salary was $35.50 a week. Well, that seemed like a lot of money, and it was. I graduated from high school in 1951, and we just celebrated 65 years since we graduated. And to me, looking for employment with a future to it, and also a good salary, and I did want something that I could work toward and maybe retire from, which I did.
They had retirement, they had hospitalization, and all companies did not have it. If you moved, you could transfer to other telephone companies and save your service. The telephone company just was a good company to work for.
We had 14 positions. At times, they were all filled. Periods not too busy during the day. We might have maybe half as many. Early in the morning, you wouldn't need as many, and that's why we had to work different hours. The all-night operator would get off at 7. Well, she might have 2, maybe 3 to come in and replace them, and then maybe an hour later, there'd be others. We had studies to tell us when our peak time were, so we could schedule the right number of people to be there to handle the calls. I had to work nights a long time because the person with the lowest seniority had the last choice, and that night work was not a favorite, especially to women who had children at home.
When I first finished training in Madison, I was had least seniority, so of course that was my job, to work from 11 in the evening till 7 in the morning. But not a lot of calls. I guess that's why we were allowed to have a bed that we could sleep between. We had a cot with a pillow right in front of the switchboard. And of course, when someone picked up their phone during the night, you would get a very loud buzz on the switchboard. That's how we knew that somebody needed us. Anytime we got a light during the day, but we got the ringing at night. Well, I had put up a connection between the police department and the state patrol. Well, if you put the connection up with the 2 cords on the switchboard, they could not get you back. The chief of police at that time was Clinton Patrick, a precious man, and everybody just adored him. I had put up a connection between the state patrol and the police department. And of course, they couldn't get me back because I was asleep by that time, which I shouldn't have done. I should have stayed up till the connection was finished. But I guess I was really sleepy, so I lay back down. And so he's knocking on the door, front door, saying, Llewellyn, he knew it was me working. Llewellyn, wake up, wake up, wake up, we can't get you. And so I did, and then of course the next morning it was reported to the chief operator, and they took the bed away, but fortunately I didn't lose my job.
As I said, we were a very small town back then, and people would begin to call each other and to find out where the ambulance was going or where the fire truck was going, you know. The lights would just light up on the board, and we just became quite busy just answering calls and ringing different phones.
Just like the day the President Kennedy was killed, everybody wanted to call somebody, and just the board just lit up, and people wanted to know. It's just human nature, you know, to want to know what's going on.
Mary Ann Hawkins and myself, we were sitting in the local positions, and we were just going just like fighting fire, you know, and talking just, you know, about different things, you know. Looked around, the chief operator was standing right behind us. And she said, Agnes, y'all just amaze me. I thought, well, she's going to get on us, you know. I said, why? Y'all are answering all these signals and just talking. I said, well, I'll tell you, I had some diet pills. I was trying to lose some weight. She said, well, I wish you'd give the rest of them some. But Mary and I were, in fact, we were overlapping. We were working 2 boards apiece.
The light would come on, and you had 2 sets of cords, and you would take one cord and plug in and say, number please, and they would give you the number, and you would take the other cord and plug in the number they wanted and ring it.
And then you had little keys down on the base of the board that you pulled toward you to ring it. And then when they hung up, you got 2 lights on the base of the board, and that let you know to take the connection down so you could use those cords to answer someone else.
Local was position 7, and information was number 1. And then if you had toll calls and you couldn't complete them and they wanted you to keep trying them, you sent them up to position 3, and the girl there would try them at different intervals. And then you were expected to help with local no matter where you sit. Yeah, I could be up number 1 and see something light up because they didn't have numbers on them, and you just, in your mind, you knew where it was at, and you could answer from up there.
Right there.
Yeah.
If you were working local and they said long distance, then you plugged them in lower, didn't you? And it came
Plugged them in and sent it up the
All the
board.
way up the board.
Where the men were was right behind the board. Everything was in that one building.
Well, the equipment that made everything work was on the other side of our switchboard, and it put off heat, you know, and so it was very uncomfortable sometimes in the summertime.
Well, there was no air conditioning, and it was a very hot place to work in the summer. We have had them bring in blocks of ice and set a fan behind it, just anything to try to cool us off, you know. But we had no air conditioning. Well, you know, at that time, it was one of the neatest little buildings, and we had the best, what was his name? The guy that kept the yard and did Lorenzo. He kept that. It was pristine, and the yards and everything were so kept up. Everything about it was really neat looking.
He was always there when I went in early in the mornings, you know. And he knew all of us by name, and you know, if he'd just do anything for you, he was great.
you would have to ring on the front key and ring 3 times manually. The J and the R were rung on the front key, and the W and the M were rung on the back key. So you had to manually ring those. And if the party that they were calling did not answer immediately, you kept ringing at different intervals just to give the person a chance to answer.
We have known them to pick up and say, will you ring me so-and-so? Because they thought we knew every number. And we did know a lot of them. Our numbers were from 1 to 300 or 400, see. My number was 10. My sister's phone number was 8. And my mom and dad's was 272J.
My number was number 1. My great grandmother lived where the Episcopal Parish house is now. And when they got phone service, her number was number 1. And she lived to be almost 92. So from whenever they had phone till then, she had number 1. When she died, my uncle had it, my great uncle. And when he died, we hadn't gone over to dial, and I could not stand the thought that somebody else would get their number after all those years. So I had it put in my room at home. So my number was number 1 until we switched over to dial.
The last time I worked in 1967, because that was when we went dial. We weren't accustomed to dial, so it was a great big change for Madison, Georgia, like all new changes are, you know, and it was very exciting that we had dial system there, and we went dial at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I was so excited about us going dial and everything that was going on. I couldn't sleep that night, and so my husband says, Mill, I know you want to see it go dial, just get up and go on down there. So I got up and went down to the telephone company and watched it go dial, and the lights just went out. And many of the girls transferred to different departments and different towns.
We had a very close-knit group of people, and we, being a small town again, you know, we pretty well knew their families, and we had lots to talk about, lots to share, and it was just we still have that camaraderie that we had way back then.
Yeah, the restroom, you went through that door.
So there is a restroom in there.
When I worked
No,
there wasn't a wall.
no, there wasn't a wall there.
Oh, so these
No,
windows
it
were always
that
there?
was the door that went into the restroom, really, right there was.
It's still here.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Let me see.
'Cause I remember on break, we could look out the window.
Yeah, we can look out the window.
And see what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Fine.
Didn't the board start right here?
I'd go closer to
Just-
that.
Just
Yeah.
about right here, I think, was
Yeah.
where the board started, and then,
It went all the way down. Oh, it's totally different.
yeah, I don't,
Oh, that was
all
switchboard equipment.
stuff back there behind the board. Because that was the door that we came in.
It looks quite different then.
So this was the door that
That
you
was the
came
door
in,
that we came in.
and the board was started about where?
Oh, it started all the way up there, and it came back to about here.
right, yeah,
And
right
then-
in here.
Yeah,
And the chief operator sat right
Right
there.
over here.
Yeah, right there, and then that door, seemed like we went in right
Right
here
there.
instead of right there, but I'm not sure.
And what was back there?
That
Lockers.
was where all the
Lockers.
equipment, well, our lockers were right down here, and then all
And
the
Oh, back there was the,
equipment.
and they seen
Cables, the cables and the,
and they went in down
I
this
mean, we
way,
didn't see
too.
that. It
No.
was completely hidden off from us. That was a completely different department. The chief operator was our boss. And
And
the
they would come
service
out
department was,
and go to the business office a lot of
that's what
times.
they did. I remember thinking a couple of them were very cute.
Y'all remember that big old chair that sat over here that, the service assistant, I guess, supposed to sit in? That big old high chair.
I do remember something about that.
Rachel Dillon took that home with her.
Did she?
Who?
The old Dillons.
Oh, really?
You know, when we cut, they give you anything you wanted, other than your headset. I mean, you got your headset. I got that little round table that we eat off every day in there.
Oh,
It's sitting out my carport right now.
That's great.
You
it
know,
was back there, I don't remember seeing, be able to see back.
I don't remember either. That was.
What about this window here?
That window, I think, was there, wasn't it?
Well,
The
I was
chief
thinking
operator
it was
said-
that
We
must
had
be
two
what I had
windows
mixed up with the
because,
door.
We had two. I know we had another window.
Yeah,
In the
another
other
window, this window and another window.
So this wall wasn't here?
This wall
No,
wasn't
Okay,
here.
this was
It
all
was just
open.
all
one big,
one-
long.
So from the business office, you could see the switchboard. I mean, it was just all,
No, no, that was completely
Business
walled
office
off.
was completely,
It was
they couldn't
a wall back.
And I don't remember people coming in off the street
No.
and ever coming back to where
No,
we
this
were.
was completely off.
You were not
that's
allowed.
right.
I remember one time my mother brought me a birthday present and she opened the door and put it down.
But I'm trying
And
to.
that's, Mary Evelyn's office was in there, wasn't it?
No, that's where, Ms. Crawford, her office was.
Okay.
Business office, that's where you come to pay your bill.
So Mary Evelyn sat right in, but I didn't remember that she was that close, like a family. I thought, when I worked there, we were like a big family.
he was the baby.
It was the baby, and everybody looked after